Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, in every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description and in every episode description. I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say I'm watching so-and-so show, and then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it, and that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. One mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 5, Episode 5 of FX's Fargo, entitled The Tiger. The episode title here obviously refers to Dot, as she is the primary focus of this episode that I found, quite frankly, to be a bit underwhelming. For starters, I thought it already set an expectation by naming the episode The Tiger that it did not live up to. Think about the scene where Munch first talks to Roy and Gator about how if he had known the Dot was a tiger, the price would have been different. I think it's episode 1 or 2, right? He presents Dot as a formidable foe, vicious, deadly, all that shit, right? So when you name the episode The Tiger and give Dot scenes these like National Geographic-esque narration, I'm expecting some tiger-like shit. I don't think that's an unreasonable expectation to have, to expect some like tiger fucking like violence or ferociousness, whatever, right? Instead, I basically got another run-of-the-mill we tried to get Dot and failed episode, and an underwhelming one at that. And it's called The Tiger, but she attacks and bites these orderlies that come to get her at the beginning of the episode with Danish. She attacks them off camera. Like, why is there off-screen violence in an episode named after one of the most violent animals on the planet? Like, I don't know. That was confusing to me. And when I talked about another we tried to get Dot and failed episode, how many more of these are we gonna do? Like, I feel like this is the third episode in a row of Roy sending some group of people, sending different people out every time, just with Gator, to get Dot and failing. And they completely fucking nailed it the first time. It under-delivered when they finally got to the Home Alone episode. And now this one names itself after a tiger, but then is anything but vicious. And just like several other shows I've watched this year, this one now just seems to be pedaling in place a little bit, like it's trying to meet an episode order before moving forward again. We don't see Munch this week. We don't see Whit Farr this week. There was nothing particularly special that happened narratively or creatively. Like, all the cool shots that I liked in the first 2 episodes, gone. Like, it's become a very just kind of basic. I don't say basic because that makes it sound like I think less of it than I do, but I just think it set a bar and an expectation in those first 2 episodes that it's failed to meet going forward. This episode was just a straightforward additional attempt at getting Dot, sprinkled with background information that, I don't know about you guys, was of no news to me anyway. Like, I want to know what happened to Roy's other wife, who I assume is Gator's mother. That's interesting to me. We haven't learned anything about that yet. Dot's telling Indira about how Roy used to beat her, and I'm like, all right, well, I already pieced that together when you did the overlay of Roy while Dot was looking at bruises. I talked about it in whatever video I did for that episode. So, that wasn't news to me. So, I did find the age at which Dot was married to Roy, and at the age at which they took her in, to be the only interesting piece of information we got in this episode. Like, for a man who supposedly abides by right and wrong, I'd be interested to find out how this came about, where he took her in at 15 and was married to her by 17. Like, well, what? I don't know. He talks a lot about Christianity and right and wrong. I don't know. He must be living in a different... he must be actually trying to live in the Bible times. But let's get into the precious little that happened in this episode and continue to wait for the show to return to the level of intensity that I think the first 2 episodes set the bar for. So... the premise behind this episode is that Lorraine learns from Danish that she can have power of attorney over Wayne if both him and Dot are incapacitated. So they essentially want to take Dot off the table, obviously without killing her, so they attempt to have Dot committed to a mental institution. And this is when we first see, or well, should I say, don't see, someone come after Dot in this episode. Once they get Dot to the hospital after, the violence that we don't see, the off-camera acquiring of Dot, she lures in one of the orderlies, subdues him, tries to escape. So that, no, she doesn't try. She successfully does. After she also subdues this nurse off camera and takes her outfit. It played like a Looney Tunes gag. Like the nurse comes in and is like, oh shit. And then Dot just walks out of her clothes. I'm like, all right, I guess I'm watching fucking cartoons and shit now. But I wasn't bothered by that. I'm not trying to be insulting, but yeah, they're like, okay, so that's how she got out. It was very, I don't know. It just felt like a kid show. Anyway, the best scene of the episode takes place when Roy arrives at Lorraine's house looking for Dot, who he obviously just missed as she was being taken to the mental institution. I had in my notes, once I saw that we were about to get a scene with these two, that I was like, oh, these two should get along. Because they're both kind of like, I don't know why I thought that. Like they both have similarly obnoxious and grating personalities to me, so I think, oh, these two shitty people should get along, but no, quite the contrary. And I don't know why I thought that these two personalities, two people like that should clash with one another, because they're always going to be trying to be one up on the other person. And it did not go how I expected. She treated him like a country bumpkin rube and looked and talked down to him. He just came out like he felt sorry for her being such an unwholesome person who's in possession of property that belongs to him. And you could tell that his play in the moment was to be cool, because he has far more nefarious intentions for later. I'm excited to see what that's going to look like. But Lorraine decidedly wins this interaction when she points out that his ideologies revolve around freedom without responsibility. And then she's like, there's only one person who gets that. His dumb ass is like, the president. And I mean, he's not dumb for saying that, but it makes him look dumb when she's like, no, a baby. You're fighting for your right to be a baby. And he just had to sit there looking stupid. Like, that was a really great line. It was the verbal / argumentative agreement of like a Mortal Kombat flawless victory fatality. But that was a great scene. I love the banter there. Would love to get a little bit more of that. And then, as if that wasn't enough, she adds a missing person is legally considered dead after 7 years. So if you want to get technical about it, then Dot actually belongs to Wayne. It's like, damn. So Roy got his ass handed to him verbally in that scene, but I expect that he's gonna have a comeback probably in the next episode. It's gonna be a lot worse than a verbal tongue lashing. And what other kind of tongue lashing can you get? What I loved about that scene is that Lorraine, who hates Dot, essentially is forced to defend her, or at least protect her, but not out of like love for her daughter-in-law. It's like love for her son and what she considers to be her son's property. Like it's more like I don't like her, but she's mine to beat on, not yours. And I like how that fits in with Lorraine's personality and how it makes it so that she's now at conflict with Roy, even though I'm sure she would like to be rid of Dot anyway. But it's like, hey, wait a minute, you coming in here with the wrong... Like, if you just wanted me to pay you off, it's fine. But, like, you want to, like, take her from me because she belonged to you? Like, you think you better than me? Like, I like that. So, Roy leaves defeated, and he offers up some really weak parting shots at Danish. He's like, oh, he's named after a breakfast pastry. And then he's like, Scotty's named after a boy. And then he calls him a muffin. I'm like, okay, this is not good work here. But then he goes like, what's next? A monkey in a hat? And then the black guy who works for Lorraine walks into the frame. And I'm just like, I don't know. I was expecting a really racist joke to follow that didn't happen. So that was surprising. Roy then sets in motion the next attempt to capture Dot, sending a new character named Bowman to get her from the hospital, again, along with Gator. But after his interaction with Lorraine, he tells Bowman to go get Wayne rather than getting Dot. Pretty much all the major players on the show converge at the hospital at the same time in these final scenes. Bowman and his crew arrive with Gator to kidnap Wayne. Dot's trying to escape, but she overhears Bowman asking the front desk person for Wayne, so she ends up staying. At that same time, Gator's waiting outside. He sees Jaqueen and his partner, Agent Meyer, arrive as well. And with all of these groups converging at the hospital at the same time, and the episode being called The Tiger, I incorrectly assumed that we were about to be treated to some fireworks. But no, Dot makes her way back to Wayne's room. She switches the name tags on the rooms. The name tag with the intestines guy that's getting the intestine surgery or whatever from last week. Switches those two names, and they being Bowman and Gator, they take intestines guy, thinking that it's Wayne, and Dot ditches Jaqueen, Agent Meyer, and Lorraine's, I keep calling them orderlies because they're just walking around in scrubs, but they're like not at a hospital, so I kind of like, what are they? I don't know. But she ditches them out of the bathroom window at the hospital and makes her way back to Lorraine's house. And that's it. Like, that's what happened. Like, in an episode called The Tiger, with several major groups of characters all converging at the hospital at the same time, looking for Dot. That's it. That's what happened. And as Indira returns home from a meeting with Lorraine that I'm going to talk about in a little bit, she finds Dot and Scotty there, and that's when we learn about the beatings and then the age at which she married Roy. And she asks Indira to let Scotty stay with her for a few days, and Indira allows it, covering for Dot with her husband, who gives Dot a look like he would fuck her right then and there. that his pretty hot wife notices. Speaking of which, I think I said earlier in my videos that Indira was pregnant, but then I saw her smoking in this episode, and I'm like, yeah, so either she lives in the 1960s or she's not pregnant. So I was wrong about that, apparently. Well, I can't say I was wrong about it. She might genuinely just might not give a fuck. But I thought she was pregnant. Somebody corrected me in the comments saying that it was her, like the shit that police officers wear underneath their clothes. And I said, like, I thought I had seen something that made me think she was pregnant in one of the scene where the first time we see the husband with the golf simulator. I feel like I saw something that made me think she was pregnant there, but I didn't see it here, and she's fucking smoking and shit, so I don't know, I guess I was tripping. I must have been wrong about that. The episode ends with Dot leaving to do whatever she intends on doing while Scotty stays with Indira. And like I said, it was a kind of an underwhelming ending to an underwhelming episode, and unfortunately, I'm not even through talking about the stuff that I didn't like. There's a scene in the episode that just didn't seem to fit in at all, and it could have been dropped into any of the other episodes, but it's where Lorraine meets with those couple of guys and talks about buying that bank. I didn't like this scene at all. Like, the watch me disprove all the sexist assumptions you made about me scene, it's wild, overdone, and played out. I've seen it a million times. I don't need to see that anymore. I also think a scene like that, where you have a character like Lorraine taking the moral high ground, it doesn't work as well when you've established Lorraine as a piece of shit who doesn't even treat her own daughter-in-law with respect, but is making a point about how women should be treated. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, it's kind of like, it's a little bit contradictory to have Lorraine trying to get the moral high ground on male chauvinism and sexism when she's a piece of shit herself and she treats her daughter-in-law like shit. So, like, I didn't. It felt like they were throwing that scene in just like, for whatever reason, we want to suck up the people who want to see men berated. And I'm like, granted, men deserve to be like, we do a lot of shitty stuff, but like, don't show me the same fucking scene for the 8 millionth time in TV and film history, and it has no context within the episode, and it doesn't work for that character. It just felt shoehorned in just to get, I don't know, just because they felt like they need to check off a box for fucking like, you know, let's shit on male chauvinism and sexism, and they need to check that box off, so they just jammed that scene in. I don't know, but that scene didn't work for me. And then lastly, what was up with that scene where Danish tried to leave and then the one security guy asked for his ID? Like, was that supposed to be a funny scene? Like, I couldn't really read that scene, because why would Danish need to prove who he is to the help? Like we've established Danish as like the right-hand man of this family, like the number 2 in command. Why is the fucking security asking Danish for ID? Like, I would have thought that Danish could have fired that guy on the spot. And Danish even says, like, I hired you. So, like, I don't understand why that scene played out the way it did. Like, asking Danish for ID is like one step below asking a family member. Like, I don't know. And then he did it, and then it just, I don't know. And then the scene just continued. I'm like, I don't know. Was that supposed to be funny? So, yeah, this episode felt very much like we're just sitting on pause, waiting for the show to get moving again. The first 2 episodes set the bar so fucking high that I thought for sure this show was gonna end up in my top 10. But after 5 episodes, I'm just wondering where this is going and when it's gonna start heading there. Like, we're only halfway through this thing, and I'm feeling the same way, kind of like I do about The Curse. What the fuck could they possibly have planned for 5 more hours of content? Like, both shows feel like they're just recycling the same concept week to week, and I'm shocked they've both remained stagnant for this long. Like, I sincerely hope we're not gonna get any more episodes of attempts to capture Dot, but it looks like she's about to go on the offense, so hopefully that's the case. But yeah, because of that, maybe this thing will pick up, at least for me. I know maybe you guys are still feeling it equally as much as you were after episodes 1 and 2, but for me, it's been a drop off since 1 and 2, and it's just kind of been pedaling in place. So hopefully now that Dot's going on the offense, I'm not gonna have to sit through another "we tried to get Dot and failed" episode. Like, cause if I got to see another collection of motherfuckers with Gator, it's like, hey, here's a 8th new character that we're introducing to try to go after Dot again. Like, I don't know. I'm gonna check out. I'm like, do you even have anything? Do you ever have a story here? So just be more attempts at getting Dot. So obviously that's not gonna be what's happening, but. It's not starting to feel that way. I know it's not going to be that way, but it's been that way. I'm ready for things to pick up, change, start moving in a discernible direction, something like that. So maybe things will pick up next week. And until then, peace.